Hello everyone, this is Teacher Sarah from phuketpals. Welcome to another GED RLA screencast. The topic of this lesson is avoiding sentence fragments. If you find this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. It helps us help more people like you. Let's dive right in with a vocabulary refresher. So an independent or complete sentence is a group of words that can stand alone as a sentence. It has both a subject and a verb and forms a complete thought. Independent clauses make clear communication possible whether we're writing or speaking. A sentence fragment then is an incomplete sentence because it lacks a subject, lacks a verb, or is a dependent clause, or just completely does not make sense at all. A subject is a person or thing that is being discussed, described, or dealt with. A predicate is the part of a sentence or clause containing a verb and stating something about the subject. For example, went home and John went home. Who did the action? It is John, which is your subject, and what was the action that was done? That was went. And went directly corresponds to the subject, John, and that makes it its predicate. So you can have a verb in a sentence, but it doesn't necessarily make it the predicate to the subject. The reason for this topic is that when we speak to each other, we don't worry about complete sentences. Even if we hear only pieces or fragments of sentences, the situation in which we hear the words fills in for the sentence's missing words. But when we write, complete sentences help our readers understand us. So let's find out what makes a complete sentence. There are 3 requirements. 1, it must have a subject. It must have a complete verb. And it must express a complete thought. If either one of these is missing, then it's not a complete sentence. If it doesn't have a subject, it's not a complete sentence. If it doesn't have a complete verb, it's not a complete sentence. Or if it has both a subject and a verb, but it doesn't express a complete thought, as we talked about with dependent clauses, then it doesn't express a complete thought and it's not a sentence. A fragment is a word group that may look like a sentence because it begins with a capital letter, as does this, and ends with a period, as does this. However, a fragment is not a sentence because it lacks either a subject, a verb, or a verb part, or because it does not express a complete thought. Usually, if you read a word group out loud, you can tell if it's not a complete sentence because it won't sound finished. Something will be missing and you will have questions like who, or what about it? As in what we're looking at right now, being late to work. I'll give you a few seconds to figure that out. Okay, so what about being late to work? To complete the sentence, we have to answer the question, being late to work can cost you your job or something else. It's true that we often can figure out what a fragment means because of the preceding sentence or sentences, but a complete sentence must have meaning on its own regardless of what the sentence before and after say. A fragment may lack a subject. The following look like a sentence. For example, fell off the horse. However, the words make no sense because we can't tell who or what fell off the horse. There's no subject. The subject of a sentence, like I said earlier, tells us who or what the sentence is about, and to correct this fragmentary is to add a subject. So, in this sentence, the jockey fell off this horse. If we had stuck with this way of writing it, this fragment sentence, it just doesn't make sense because we don't know who fell off the horse or what fell off the horse or did something fall off the horse at all. And now we know that the jockey was the one who fell off the horse. So when you're looking for the subject of a sentence, look for the doer of the act or the actor. Ask yourself who or what is doing something in this sentence. If you can't find an answer, there's probably no subject at all, and you're probably looking at a sentence fragment. Here's another word group that looks like a sentence but isn't. 5 dogs in our neighborhood. Try to figure out what's wrong with this one. Okay, these words don't make sense because you don't know anything about the 5 dogs. You don't know who they are or what they're doing because there is no verb. Again, the verb is a sentence that tells what the subject does or what it is. Okay, so 5 dogs in our neighborhood growled. That's what they did. That's the action that's missing from this sentence. We can actually even say 5 dogs is in our neighborhood, or are in our neighborhood. It gives them a state of being, that there are 5 dogs in our neighborhood. They don't have to actually have done something or be doing something like growled or ran maybe, or ran after someone or bit someone, let's say. Hope not. Okay, how do we figure that out though? How do we know what's missing, or what is it that we need to add to a sentence if it's missing the verb? There are 2 kinds of verbs. So here, action verbs show that the subject is doing something. So to correct the fragment that we saw earlier, although I corrected it there, we just have to add the word growled. 5 dogs in our neighborhood growled. A linking verb shows no action, but they tell what the subject seems like or what it is or how it feels. For example, the 5 dogs in our neighborhood seem ferocious. Actually, they are harmless unless they feel threatened. So those are 3 kinds of linking verbs that you can use. They're also called helping verbs actually because they help first thing they do is that they show a state of being. So they seem ferocious, are harmless, unless they feel threatened. So these are not exactly actions, as in when you run or swim or sleep even, or blink or breathe. Those are actions that you can see. But seem and are feel. They're not quite actions that you can see. There's no real action happening there. They just are. Okay. Another example, music blaring outside my window. So sometimes fragments occur because the verb is not complete. Hope that gives you a clue on what's coming up next. Okay, so because blaring expresses an action, you may see it as a verb, but it really is only part of a verb. And without the other part, the word group doesn't make sense. So, to correct this fragment, complete the verb by adding is. Music is blaring outside my window. So, you need that helping verb for this to make sense. They just need to be together. That's just how it is. Okay, let's do a little bit of a practice. I'm going to read this to you. Choose the one best answer for each item. Items 1 to 3 refer to the following paragraph. AIDS is a devastating disease that the medical profession has trouble. Understanding or treating. The name is an abbreviation for acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. People with AIDS suffer a breakdown in their body's immune system. In a healthy body, a certain type of white blood cell attacks foreign substances that enter it. That type of cell protects us from disease. Scientists believe that AIDS is caused by a virus that kills this particular type of blood cell, leaving the AIDS victim defenseless against infection and tumors. Researchers hope to produce a vaccine against AIDS. Let's check out the questions. Sentence number 1 and 2. AIDS is a devastating disease that the medical profession has trouble understanding or treating. There's a full stop there. Which of the following is the best way to write the underlined portion of these sentences? If you think the original is the best way, select choice 1. Give you a few seconds there as usual, or you can pause the video and try to figure it out as best as you can. No pressure. Sorry, I got a bit of the sniffles today. If your answer is number 3, then you are absolutely correct. Why? Because the period is not necessary there. AIDS is a devastating disease that the medical profession has trouble what? And then you begin the next sentence with understanding or treating. It just doesn't make sense at all, and the sentence actually stops there again. So it's not a sentence, it's a part of a sentence that needs completion. It's a fragment. That's what it is. So the answer is number 3, because AIDS is a devastating disease that the medical profession has trouble understanding or treating. Removing the period corrects the fragment by attaching it to the rest of a complete sentence. The other choices create different fragments. Sentences 4 and 5. People with AIDS suffer a breakdown in their body's immune systems. Which of the following is the best way to write the underlined portion of these sentences? If you think the original is the best way, select 1. If your answer is number 2, then you are correct, because removing the period corrects the fragment by attaching it to the rest of a complete sentence. Choice 3 creates different fragments. Choices 4 and 5 change the meaning of the sentence entirely. Okay, another one, sentence 9, leaving the AIDS victim defenseless against infection and tumors. What correction should be made to this sentence? Okay. The answer to number 3 is number 2. Replace leaving with this leaves. So we're not connecting it to another sentence, but we are fixing it by making it a complete sentence on its own. So this leaves the AIDS victim defenseless against infection and tumors. Choice 2 creates a sentence that makes sense. The other choices create more fragments, and really that's not what we need anymore. Okay, here's another one. After becoming concerned about the environment, many people have decided to try recycling. Most commonly, newspapers, glass, and aluminum cans. However, automotive oil, cardboard, and plastic can be recycled too. In most communities, several recycling centers take these materials. Some are private operations and others are public. Sentence 2. Most commonly, newspapers, glass, and aluminum cans. What correction should be made to this sentence? The correct answer is number 3. Choice 3 gives the sentence a subject and a verb, and the choices do not correct the fragment. Most commonly, newspapers, glass, and aluminum cans. Okay. In most communities, several recycling centers take these materials. What correction should be made to this sentence? Okay. If your answer is number 4, then you are correct. The verb must be complete. To complete the sentence, the other choices create different fragments. So, in most communities, several recycling centers take these materials. And there you have it. Thank you for watching. That's all from me, from Teacher Sarah from phuketpals. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and hit thumbs up if you find this video useful. Have a good day.